show, or
What the Folk podcast, WFT. What have I called it these days? The Sunderland one? Sunderland podcast.
In a rare show of desire to do something more than just sort of talk a bit, we thought we'd get together and sort of explore what it would be like on the other side of the fence. So hi, Graham.
Hi. Yeah, we do this every week, by the way. You should do it more often.
We have a release schedule that's almost obtusely kind of irregular. So it's sort of just whenever we feel like it. And it usually starts with a segment called Moments of the Week. But over the last 5 years or so, it's had to be called like the moments of the period of time since we last recorded. Right, go on then. Friday. What do you reckon?
Do you know what it is? It's like I've spent like 39-ish years. I'm like, well, 38. I'm not 39 yet. That's not age me. But like any football fan, a big game comes along, and I used to spend like days like absolutely shitting myself. Like, oh God, what if? Like going to bed being like, oh, but what if this happens? And I'm just dead calm. Like, I know this sounds ridiculous and maybe even a little bit pessimistic and defeatist, but if Coventry beat us, or if you beat us and you win a game of football and you go to Wembley, I'll probably wake up the next day and I'll probably get over it. Like, I've just got to a point where I'm like, I've realised the team I support are predominantly probably going to let me down at some point. They're probably not going to win many Premier League titles. And if they do, it's probably because we've sold our soul and our morals to some murderous regime from like, I don't know, Mars by the time we get took over. Like, it'll be aliens taking over clubs by that point. But like, I've got to a point where if we win, class, brilliant. Be dead funny. I'll probably send you a message and be like, ha ha ha. I'll probably send Ross, my other mate, a message being like, lol, 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 say something about Jimmy Hill. And then we'll just be like, we'll go on to the next game and then we'll get murdered in the Premier League. And you'll be like, like, not that, by the way, I know that's a contentious subject. I mean metaphorically, not physically. We're talking about owners. You've got to be careful with your words. But like, I feel kind of comfortable with it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like I hate football. Like, I love it. Like, of course I do. It's my job and it's something I do as a podcast, as a hobby. But like, if you kind of get up for these games, what's the fucking point? Like, what's the point in sitting there worrying about shit that essentially you've got absolutely no control over? It could be a really good day for us or for you. It could be like dead funny.
Have you lot, you'll have to forgive me because even though I've followed your recent history from afar, I can't think of you must have experienced losing a playoff semi over the last 10 or so years, have you?
Lincoln. We got beat off Lincoln, and it was the pandemic season. We got beat off Lincoln, but the fans had just come back in.
Okay, but, so it ain't. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was 10,000. I was there, 10,000 in the second leg, and we lost the first leg 2-0, and then we won the second leg 2-1. But the only thing I kind of remember about it, apart from the fact that there was like no fans there, but at the same time, what felt like loads of fans. Was Max Power had a shot in like the 94th minute from about 40 yards out that he put about 60 yards over the bar. And it was that feeling. Do you know, like, we hadn't been to football for ages. And you remember that feeling? You're just like, I just want to go back to football. I just miss football. I don't care if we get beat 100-0. And then in that moment, everyone went, fuck football. Like, I hate football. Like, in that moment. But we've lost semis before. We lost, I'm probably forgetting one here, but we lost against Crystal Palace in like 2005, and they went on to win the playoffs. So we've lost a championship semi. I think we've been in 8 and won 1 in terms of like the entire thing. So it's not a great record.
Rough. Yeah, but it also everyone places too much importance on that stuff because it has literally no bearing on the next one. It's like assuming that you're going to flip another head because you flipped 8 heads previously. That's not how a coin toss works. There might be some very unusual mental baggage carried by players about a generation of players that they have no relationship to, it's probably more likely that they just go out and try and win the game, or that there's some sort of like internal factors, like the crowd make it difficult because there's so much expectation or whatever. I bet it's not that. Like, I don't think that history plays any kind of really genuine part over the likelihood of them doing this or not.
It just plays in with the fans, doesn't it? But the thing is, like, why do I not like Coventry? Disclaimer: I don't like Coventry. 97, I was 11 or something, and I remember you delayed the kickoff, and I was just like, well, I can't do that. And then someone, well, I've done it before, or something like that. I think, oh, bloody hell. And then I got the Jimmy Hill story and all that and all the kind of historical content of it. But if I remember the team that day, Chris Waddle was playing for us, and Dion Dublin, who now presents Homes Under the Hammer, was playing up front for yous. So why the fucking hell would Jude Bellingham care about that?
That's the thing. Yeah,
know about it.
Like, it's not. It doesn't make any difference. But I think more the kind of the thing of. I think more it's the thing of, we've got a bad record in Wembley appearances, or however you want to describe it. Like, this is a game that they were a set of players that aren't playing for you now. So I just don't think the bigger thing, I guess, for you lot is the fact that you've been, and again, I'm basing this on partly on what you've told me and what I've read, but you've been shit for about 3 months, haven't you? That's probably the greater concern.
I think pretty much, to be honest, like the performance against you lot was like the worst of the season. But I think what it was, we played so well between like August and November. I think in October we went 5 months clear to top of the league, and you were like, well, hang on a minute. Like, we went 6 months unbeaten at home. Right. And then, I don't know, it was just like, to be honest with you, it was like the Leeds game was the killer, because that was the one where we were 1-0 up with 50 minutes to go, got beat 2-1, last kick of the game, stood there in Elland Road with them all singing Kaiser Chiefs, which is bad at the best of times, listen to Kaiser Chiefs, let alone when they're singing it at you. But I think, like, at that point you went, oh, right, okay, so it's probably going to be playoffs. But like, that does kind of seep into it. It seeps into the atmosphere. It seeps into like, for example, for the first time since the stadium light opened, I missed, I think it was 3 or 4 home games in a row. And the reason for that was house move, 2 holidays at the same time, and then a wedding. So it was like, I would have went otherwise. But I remember being like, these aren't the crucial games. Like, I'll cope not going to it. And I still miss them, because I've been used to going to them since I was like, I don't know, 7 or something, 6 or 7. And I've had a season ticket since I've moved up here in Scotland. But like, I was kind of like, okay, fair enough. Like, it's probably not going to matter towards the automatics. We're probably in the playoffs. It's shite if the players have sort of thought that. But there's games you can physically see players sort of pulling out tackles a bit. Like, especially the last 5, there's certain games when I've gone, oh, he's not fancying that. When otherwise you'd see like I'm not saying Job's pulled out tackles, but Job likes a tackle. Normally you'd see players like flying into stuff, and there's not really been that. But it's still shit seeing your team get beat, and it's not really helped that. Like, if we had Bristol City, the mood would be so different within the fan base, so different. Or Sheffield United, you'd go, right, okay, wipe it clean, plow on. There's just so much baggage with Coventry, which is really annoying. But like, I feel outside of you, most Coventry fans, including people I really get on with, have got this kind of massive air of confidence, which if that was us, I'd be like, sharp.
Yeah, I don't see it really. So to some extent, for you, it will boil down to how you approach, especially the game at our place on Friday, because we just lost to Plymouth and Luton back to back, who were 24th and 23rd, and Luton especially have been wretched for a long period of time. And
funny though, isn't it?
Say again.
Funny, isn't it though, Luton being
bad. I literally couldn't be happier because of how classless they were when they beat us 2 years ago in the playoff final as well. Is that they really, and I know that this is not a nice thing to say, but I'm sorry, I think Tom Lockyer faked it on the pitch to try and give them some sort of, I don't buy it. And I do, part of me thinks, I hope he was sitting down when he heard the news, because I don't know whether he can take another one.
He got the winner against us. in the second leg, and like, he handed it right up us. I remember I want to say he had a bit of a battle with like Amad Diallo and Joe Geltart, who were about 5'5" put together. And obviously it was awful what happened. Like, obviously, like I hope he gets better and I hope he's doing well. But like, he was a right worky ticket on the pitch. He was a right worky ticket on the pitch with us. And it was just like, sod off. But like, I mean, the guy who comes on the preview show for us for Luton's one of my favourite preview guests I've had. He's like, went to Roker Park and everything. And I love chatting to him. But I felt like from the outside, like, it's obviously got us in the semi. They were just really, really not the classless, as you put it. Like, I think one of them punched Amad Diallo. Like, he went to get the ball to collect him and they punched him. And it was like, I mean, we had that with Pompey. Like, when Lugo 9 got leathered by that, like, ogre at Pompey a few years ago. That was, I mean, folklore in it. But yeah, they weren't great. And then we played them this season. And there was a guy who did a podcast who, like, he went on, I can't remember his name. And he went on and was like, talking about how he was so pleased he got Luton back because they played physical and how Sunderland couldn't handle their physicality and how brilliant they were. They got beat 2-1, by the way. They got beat. And I was like, what? And unfortunately for him, there's a lad that used to do the podcast with me, Brad, who just hammered him the entire season. And then, like, I knew what was coming. But yeah, I don't know why I'm speaking about Luton, but it was like, look, sorry, Dave, if you're listening to it. I'm sure you're not. I did laugh a bit because of some of your fan base that you went down.
Oh yeah, fuck them. And I don't really give a shit in that way about a lot of teams. And I must confess, like, I'm probably over-egging how much I cared about it. But if I could have picked a team to have gone down, it would have been them. It's such a sense of entitlement, generally speaking, about everything. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Anyway, the thing with them is that so we lost against Plymouth and Luton, not because they're brilliant, but because we really, really struggled. And not even because of the cliche that they were fighting for their lives or anything. They just sat back. And we couldn't break them down. And so whilst we looked really good against Middlesbrough, but Middlesbrough had to win that game to have a chance of going up. And so they had to give us the space that Radoni and the decent players that we've got wanted. And we were able to make a go of it. And I think that the only confidence that I would have is that I don't think yous will be daft enough on Friday to just be like, up and at 'em straight at our place. I think you'll probably sit in, and they are historically low-scoring games. I think it'll be either 0-0 or 1-1 or 1 goal either way. And then we're back at your place, and that's going to be a problem. Because if we go to your place and you're still in it, we did it against Middlesbrough 2 years ago, but they're not you. Middlesbrough is still like, it's not a real, it's not a proper club, is it?
I mean, for me, like, the thing is, when I look at, like, what's the best atmosphere that's been at the stadium, like, because the way I'm looking at it is keep ourselves in it, keep it up, at least you can have a 1 goal head start, a 2-1, a 1-0, a 3-2, whatever it may be. If you can get better than that, brilliant, snap your hand off. But like the best atmospheres I've been at the stadium, like even in the League One days, some of them was like the home leg of a playoff semi-final, like Sheffield United 98, incredible, one of the best I've ever seen. Even a few years ago, we played Pompey, got beaten in the final off Charlton, put it on Netflix, of course we did. And we had 25,000 there because everyone just fed up. But the atmosphere was brilliant because everyone that was there was like just wanted to beat Pompey. We hadn't beat Pompey all season. They'd kind of been a bit of stupid social media argy-bargy from their like Twitter admin or whatnot. It was a great atmosphere. We won 2-1 and 1-0. But the atmosphere we had for the last playoff, the Luton game where we won 2-1, but the one before that, against Sheff Wed in the playoff that we won and got out of League One, like that Friday night was unbelievable. Like one of the best I've seen. I mean, the only atmospheres I can think of that really matched it was when we beat Chelsea 3-2, and then beat Everton 3-0 a few days later to relegate Newcastle, which kind of has its own context, or games against them, which is, you'd expect it to be good atmosphere. So there's part of me where I think the history might play into it a little bit in the away leg. And there's part of me that thinks you're probably too physical and too strong for us in the away leg, and you've got a good home form. Yeah, you've got this kind of Sunderland's kryptonite physicality a little bit, and that's probably down to the fact that our better players are young lads, and not that they're soft or anything, but like
that is the case. And
yeah,
you just don't fill out at 17, do you? Is Rig 17, 18?
Riggy's 17, yeah.
Which is insane.
he's a tough lad, but I mean, like, he did an interview today where he says, like, there was a player that I said to him on the pitch, I think he said it was a Southampton player last season, asked him if he was still getting breastfed, which, like, to be fair,
It's not bad.
It's not a bad question. It's a good bit of banter, but like, and Job's only 19, but Job's a specimen. Like, he's a big boy.
I know. I'm asking you this as a Sunderland fan, but I can't quite make it out, because there's Sunderland fans in general seem to think that he walks on water, and then because people can't take a sort of a medium position when they hear something they disagree with, there's there's a big groundswell of people that say that he's shit. But how closer from like the good end to the middle is he, in your opinion?
I actually think people would rate him higher if his name wasn't Bellingham. I know that sounds weird, but like people,
and this is what I mean. I think the reason that people are saying, "Oh, he doesn't deserve to be in the team of the season," it's because of that name. And if he hadn't got that name, they would be saying, "Yeah, he probably does." I just can't. Yeah. I don't think I've only seen him a handful of times, but he's never blown me away. But I also know that that's not how statistics work. So if you've seen him 50 times, you've got a better view of him. I think I've probably just seen the wrong games, but I haven't quite seen it yet.
I love him, but he's got things to learn, like, as he would. But it seems like, I think some fans do this thing where they're just going to dislike him because, have you noticed Jude Bellingham has this kind of weird online hate that some kids seem to have at him, which is just like, he's arguably one of the best midfielders in the world. Like, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? I think it naturally passes to Job as well. But for me, Job is, this is because I love Dan Neil, he's great. But for me, when Job Bellingham plays well, Sunderland play well, but naturally he's 19, he has like ups and downs. I'd like to see him score more goals. But when he's on it, because he's just got this really wonderful, I don't like comparing him to his brother, but there's similarities because they came from the same mom, they're from the same gene pool. It kind of helps.
I always think they look quite like each other as well.
Yeah, he's 2 inches taller than Jude. He's got 2 inches on him. Yeah, he's a bigger boy. But the way he uses his body to kind of like shield the ball, he does like the same sort of thing. And I'm not saying he's as good as his brother, but like, I mean, that's like saying I'm as good as a journalist as Henry Winter. I'm just not. Like, and I'm probably never going to be. But like, I can aspire to be. I mean, you never know. You never know. But like, I think with Job, I actually think people underrate him because of his name. I think people like think, oh, he's just famous because of his name. And like, yeah, he kind of is. Like, it's kind of weird seeing a Sunderland player doing FIFA adverts. I walked down the street in Glasgow the other day and there was a massive photo of him outside of Sports Direct.
Really?
Which I was like, Yeah, I got a photo, obviously. Dressed as a cowboy at the time, so it looks a bit weird. Just as like a cowboy pointing at giant Joe Bellingham. But he's
being used in the advertising for the new popular
FIFA
football game.
Yeah. What was it called? EA Sports FC or something? Yeah. They've changed it from FIFA because they lost the rights or whatever. But yeah, he's in it with his brother, like playing FIFA, whatever it's called.
Okay.
I
thought you meant like he's on the cover. Like he's like,
he was in like the main advertisements. It was really odd.
No, but I think you're right. I think I might have seen it now of him sat on the sofa playing it with. Yeah, okay.
So he has all of that, and I think some people go, "Oh, he's just shit. He's just Jude's brother." But like, he's a really good player. I rate him really highly. I'm a really, really big fan. I think he'll comfortably be a Premier League player. I think probably next season. I hope it's with us, but I think he's so good that even if we go up, I think there'll be still interest in him. I still think he might go. There's like, I mean, what's the clubs that have been linked to him? The obvious ones are Borussia Dortmund, Real Madrid. They're the obvious ones. But I think it was Damarsa or something who were like reputable, like an actual source said that Real Madrid have got like serious interest in him. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go straight into Real Madrid's midfield and just sit next to his brother and Luka Modric. But the fact they've got interest means to see someone that in a couple of years' time may be potentially good enough to be in their squad. Do I think he's Real Madrid good? I haven't seen that yet. But he's definitely a Premier League player, 100%.
Fair dude.
Just physical.
Who else is going to damage us? Is it Isidore, the striker?
Oh, he hasn't scored in 12.
But then again, isn't that? But this is the thing This is the thing that I'm worried about with you. Is like you're saying about you can sort of half see players looking like they're shirking tackles. Is it so that they're ready for this? And the second that the season stopped, they were like, right, what are we saying then? Are we back on? I don't think you can flip that switch that quickly and that easily.
I don't think that.
I also wouldn't rule it out. Like you say, we went up in the League 2 season via the playoffs. Me and my mate keep saying, I always thought to get promoted, you'd have to have a spell of the season where you were like good, like really good or whatever. And that season we didn't. And this season, like, I know that we had that really good winning run, but all that was a sort of like statistical regression to the mean. We had a load of games that we lost earlier in the season that we shouldn't have lost. And then that was a big run of games that we won that we shouldn't have won. But overall, we sort of had the right results in the wrong order for a team that were probably like 6.5 out of 10. That's probably about our score as a team. So we could go up again without really being very good. Whereas you at least have had a patch of this season where you were really good, weren't you? You were proper. When he was on, when Isidore was scoring regularly, I remember thinking, "Oh Christ, you look like you're actually like a good championship player." But you're right. I didn't realise he'd gone 12 games without scoring, playing like chunks of games without broken up or anything.
He's just weird. Like he's not started every game. Like I love Wilson. Like he's the first person to ever follow the podcast. So kudos. I won't ever say anything bad about him unless I can edit this out. But he's been snatched and stuff recently. Like I think like there was a pattern at the start of the season. If you look at his goals this season, the one he scored against you was unbelievable. Like that kind of. Both were great that day, but everyone went on about the second goal. And I was like, nah, the Wilson goal is the one. And he scored like a glut of goals that were just
that's
absolutely
bold, because that Sirkin goal was quite good.
Yeah, it was decent. Yeah, it was decent. I think that goal that he scored though wasn't like that out of the ordinary for him. But if you have a header from 6 yards out, like free header with no keeper in sight, you'll miss it. He's a score. Someone said he's a scorer of great goals, not a great scorer of goals. And then you're like, oh, well, hang on, he scored 12 goals. And then you suddenly go, how long has it been since he scored a goal? Oh God, he's double 10. But it's been mixed with the fact that Eliza Meyenda's kind of become the main striker, to be honest. Okay. I think most Sunderland fans would like to see that. But what I'd personally prefer to do is play them both. The likelihood is Mundell's going to be out. I think they said today that Mundell's probably going to be more second leg, which is a massive blow. Like, some people have put this kind of 2 and 2 together and gone, since Mike Dodds has left as assistant manager or first team coach, whatever he did, and went to Wickham, we've really struggled. No, it was when Mundell got injured. The timeline's exactly the same. Okay. It's pretty obvious. But it sounds more dramatic if you say Mike Dodds, I guess, doesn't it? Mike Dodds was all right. He's a nice bloke, but we won 3 games in 16 in interim charge. You can't be that good of a coach. You might be a nice bloke, but I don't know. It's different jobs, I guess, but Mundell's not going to be fit, so I would be tempted to go with Wilson up top, and I'd be tempted to go with Mayenda on the left and maybe Roberts on the right, because I don't want Enzo Lefebvre on the left wing. We've got arguably like the most talented number 10 in the league that was signed from Roma, and we've put him on the wing. Like, what are we doing? That's stupid. And I think, look, Roberts has been a form. I love Patrick Roberts. Like, I worship the ground he walks on, but like he has been really poor for a couple of months now. But for me, you play quite a high line. Nobody wants to go into a first leg of the playoff and go, well, sit back. But I think if we are to get a result against you, which is positive, i.e. a win, sit back a bit. Don't camp, but sit back a bit. Get you on the break, and Mayenda and Wilson's pace. I think the game's won in midfield.
Yeah,
because Sheaf, Rodoni versus Bellingham, Daniel, potentially Enzo Lefebvre, Chris Rigg, wherever it may be. I think you'll always see those arguments on Twitter from the relatively reasonable people who argue who's got the better midfield out of us two. And there's always valid arguments on both sides, which means whoever wins that battle for me is going to win. It's going to win the game. But because it's 2-legged, you've kind of got to look at it as in, if we get an early goal and then you come back and win 2-1, is that disastrous?
No, not at all.
If you offer me 2-1 now, I'd take it, mate, to be honest. It's 2-legged, it's half time.
I don't know what I'd consider to be success in that first leg. Obviously, winning 8-0 wouldn't be too bad, but this is world class broadcasting, by the way. I was about to say the playoffs is like one big game.
It's like a big, massive game.
Imagine a match, but twice as big.
Massive.
Right? It's a really big game.
Do you think they might go to penalties, by the way? Because I do.
I don't know. The whole thing for me hinges on whether you lot are able to pick your level up. Because I would say, I don't know, I'm repeating myself, I think probably your ceiling is higher than ours. So if you're able to pull yourself out of the doldrums and get back to where you were, then I think it's yours anyway. The other thing is, are you going to be like humble enough to come to our place on Friday and, like you say, you don't have to stick 10 men beyond the ball, but just play conservatively enough, because I think we'll really struggle to break you down if you do. Because it's Sunderland, I can totally see you being like, fucking, we don't go anywhere and sit back. Like
yeah.
And then you're in trouble, because if you give us half an inch of space at the minute between Radoni and Sakamoto, who's brilliant against Middlesbrough, Wright, like you saw what Wright did against you at our place. Now that was a weird perfect storm, I would say. I think we got made to look better than we were that day, but that is quite a good example of what could happen to you again if you give us that extra yard of space around those areas. I
feel like that a bit. I also think we might sit back, mate, to be honest. The reason I think we might sit back, and this is not totally sit back, but there's the big bugbear with a lot of Sunderland fans. I don't speak for all of them, but from what you see online and stuff like that, we actually pressed really, really fucking high at the start of the season, and it was absolutely class. Like teams like Burnley with like Scott Parker, and by the way, I wasn't impressed with Burnley this season. So I know they've gone up and I know they don't care and they'll laugh at us and they'll be all like that. But for me, I would like get at them, and we had players like running at them and they were like putting the ball out of play and that, and we beat them 1-0. And then if we hadn't missed 2 penalties in like 5 minutes in the away game, we would have beat them twice and not conceded a goal. And I think when it comes to after that sort of first couple of months, maybe September, I think we played Middlesbrough. And we sat back a bit and just let them have the ball. It was a perfect game plan. It worked really well. We hit them on the break. Riggy scored a back heel. And we sat back and just went, well, you have the ball because you can do fuck all with it. And to be honest, that's kind of how it went. But then I feel like at that point, I don't know what it was. I don't know if he felt the squad wasn't big enough, or the squad he had wasn't strong enough to rest and rotate as much as he wanted to, which I think is probably where it's at. But he stopped this high pressing and decided to like sit back a bit and do that a bit more. And some people think our form turned at that point. It kind of didn't. It kind of turned. We're still getting results until like February, March time. And then we kind of went, playoffs, okay, as we explained earlier. But there was like a conceited attempt to sit back at certain points in the game, which I think came down to the fact that he thought he was in an automatic promotion chase. And you had like Leeds bringing on Ramazani and Noto, and we're bringing on like 18-year-old guy from Serbia. The team just, and so I think he kind of wanted to sort of rest out possession, if that made sense, a little bit in some games and trying to conserve that energy. And I think there's probably an element of truth in that, by the fact that we ended up playing literally guys who I thought were dead like a few weeks ago that have never played for us. Like, sorry, Joe Anderson, but like he signed for us 800 days ago and he didn't his first start. And I was like, all right. And he actually did it right, weirdly enough, but like you would naturally never see him normally play because I don't think he's of the quality of the Championship, to be completely honest. But like, it could go one of two ways. He could go, you know what, it makes sense to sit back a bit with Coventry and try and hit them with a high line. Or he could be like, right, we've rested now. I've got my team back. Let's go at them. But like the Coventry game at home was like a perfect example of good versus bad Sunderland this season. Yeah. We hadn't seen much of the second half at that point, but it started to become like a thing where we'd fucking duff it second half because we sat back how much. Like the home game was so obvious. Like you messaged me at half time, you're bloody hell, like what's going on here? Like you've just got to do absolute worldies. And then like I hadn't checked my phone, so I got all the messages at the same time, and it was swiftly followed by lol, how did you let us back into that? It was like, I think we just expected it as soon as you scored. We kind of sat there, and it's shite, you know, when you're coming from Glasgow, like, because you know you've got that 4-hour drive or that 4-hour train journey back to mull over every piece of shit that you've just watched. But like first half Sunderland against Coventry was what we seen at the start of the season and the good bits. Second half against Coventry at home was kind of what was a bit more often in the second half of the season. So, like, it's a long way of saying it, but I kind of don't know how we're going to approach it. I have a feeling we might sit back a little bit. I hope we don't camp. I hope we are tactically astute and go, okay, these are a good side. They're in a good run of form. Like, they'll be up for it. And just sort of not let you have the ball, win the tackles we need to win, and try and just hit you on the break a bit. Because we have got pace, but I just feel like we lack a bit of physicality. I mean, Haji Wright's like 6'9". That's ridiculous. That shouldn't really be allowed.
We were talking about this again last night. So one of it really pissed me off over the course of, especially the start of the season. So we have Wright and Sims up front, and
Sims.
The Coventry Evening Telegraph journalist who's been there for about 800 years keeps describing them as the big lads up front, right? But it's like you saw Ellis Sims for a bit. He's not. He's a lad that happens to be big, but he's not a big man. Like he's not. No. Like he's not got and he's been awful for us recently. I would love to see him either hold the ball up or throw his weight around. I just think he happens to be a tall, poachy goal scorer when he's on form, which he's not at the moment. And Wright is actually the same. Wright is a big old fella, gorgeous. By the way, the pair of them, stunning, gorgeous. But there was it. But
we can say that it's men who look like we do, though. Like.
Do you reckon? Like, they just do. But I don't think Haji Wright isn't kicking lumps out of people, nor is Sims. So the shame is he can do it. Like if he gets himself in the right place too, he can handle himself. But that he don't really like to. And you can also tell that he fucking hates playing out on the left. He started as a striker for us last season, then got booted out to the left and begrudgingly took it and did quite well. Then came back from his injury this season, played through the middle against Hughes and played a handful of games. We had injuries again. He's been stuck back out on the left. And God bless him, he does his tracking back and he does his kind of work. But you can see in his face as he's doing it, he's like, I'm better than this. Like, there's no way I should be. He's 50 Cent complaining about taking the bins out at his nan's while he's, do you know what I mean? So I don't think we're sort of, it's an illusion of physicality with us, really. We can, Sheaf, Grimes, Rodoni, strong, adept physical players, but it's not going to be a Simeone team.
Matt Grimes is like, I actually really rate Matt Grimes, and friends with Luke, who does the Swans cast. And he always used to be like, who's the player to impress you? And I'm like, Matt Grimes. But Matt Grimes is like the football player equivalent of Reading. He's just nondescript, but he's always kind of kicking about. And he does nothing really that bad. I mean, obviously the owner of Reading did something relatively bad over the past however many years, but now Reading were just like there, and you just knew they were a club, but you weren't like really sure what their intention was. Yeah. Matt Grimes is kind of like that. He's the new, what's the caller that he's played for Liverpool and Swansea? His name's
Joe Allen.
Joe Allen.
He's literally Joe Allen. I don't know if you remember years and years and years ago when Tony Blair went on Football Focus, I think it was, and he was asked who he thought was good players in the Premier League, and he said like Shearer or whoever else. And then there was the last one that he said, and it was kind of a can I shock you for a minute with how nuanced my take on Premier League footballers is? He was like, I actually really like Ian Dazoo, right? I think there's a lot of that in Matt Grimes. People are like, do you know who I think is a really good player? Matt, you thought I was going to say Patrick Robert. No, Matt Grimes, actually. Matt Grimes. Because I get football. I understand football better than you do. So I like a guy that passes the ball 6 yards. Grimes has made a difference for us.
He's so good in the transition.
But there's a lot of people being like, he has made such a difference, and then you're like, how has he made a difference? And they're like, just the
kicking the ball,
like the way that the way that we set up. You're like, well, that's not a thing though, is it? That's not an answer to that question. So he has been good and he has made a difference, but we spent £4 million on a player that's 29 and he
cost £4 million.
That's £4 million. Yeah. So he better be all right. So I'm not complaining about it particularly, but it does make me laugh when you're saying, like, I agree. I think there's a lot of kind of
someone somewhere in the Coventry
background.
recruitment team got their PowerPoint out, pressed a few buttons, and went Passon's 20 on Football Manager, spaff 4 million on that.
Literally exactly what's happened. That's a big part of why Robbins was sacked earlier in the season. They touched on it when they did this very strange fans forum that they did in November after the decision, which is unbelievable viewing, where they sort of were very explicit about a number of things, but very heavily hinted at a number of things. And it was the owner of the club and the guy that was like the director of recruitment. And he was saying, we had a number of targets and we consistently had to sign Josh Wilson-Esbrand for Mark Robbins. we don't want to do that anymore. Whereas Lampard has come in and has said, I want to have a bit of a go of this transfers wise, but I will take your word for it. And the name, by the sounds of it, that was number one on the top of the list was Matt Grimes' name before Lampard was there, apparently they've wanted him, the recruitment team have wanted him for years. I can sort of see why, I'm not. He could be a football genius, and I'm a fucking idiot, which is very, very, very likely.
I mean, we do the podcast, we don't play the game, so by proxy, we are the fucking idiots.
Yeah, and that when we've interviewed a handful of players, and when we've asked them who the best player that they've played with was, this is sort of League Two-ish era, is almost all of them said Michael Doyle. And every time I was like, sorry, let me rephrase that. I don't mean who's the player that had the biggest influence and whatever else. I'm on about technically, I'm on about the player, not a guy that would kick the ball out of play every time that he tries it. They're like, no. Michael Doyle is an outstanding, technically gifted footballer. And you're like, Michael Doyle. But don't get me wrong, I love Michael Doyle. Obviously, he's a huge part of our club history.
Football, but football is football.
The most technically gifted player you've played with. You're telling me it's Michael Doyle. I've watched Michael Doyle for 10 years. And I think you're better than Michael Doyle. Like, why are you saying that? So you're right. This is clearly something that we don't see. And he exudes that. But I also do think there's a bit of it which is like, it's really cool to say, post Barcelona, that this is the best thing that you can do.
I've never had a discussion about Matt Grimes, and I haven't had that many. I've had about 5. So I haven't had that many discussions. But in the 5 discussions, or potentially 4 that I've had, you've never been able to, neither me nor my guest has ever been, and this would be Luke from Swansea, who's a big Matt Grimes fan, but we've never been able to not discuss Matt Grimes without going, well, statistically.
Yeah.
Statistically, statistically, the best haircut is short back and sides. It's safe. But I've got a mullet at the minute and I'm trying to grow a mustache because I would like a bit of difference. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but
it's fine.
You get my point.
Yeah,
I'm always going to be a Joe Bellingham man who probably statistically doesn't get as many passes right as Matt Grimes does.
So I'm fairly obsessed with this at the minute because we've got defenders who are crap, but that keep coming out statistically okay. And the problem with statistics a lot of the time is that they record actions taken and there's very little oversight for covering things that didn't happen. So if you're a defender and you make 6 clearances in a game, that would probably put you above the average for a centre-back in the league. And if you did that consistently, it would produce high numbers. But that if you twice a game venture so high upfield that it leaves a massive gap and that the team is able to attack through that gap and score, that's not statistically your fault. And Grimes is a pass monster. So he makes a huge volume of very low risk passes that are all recorded as positive actions having been taken. And I know that the scoring system does have provision for sort of attacking quality and quality of possession and quality of pass. But if you're making 130 passes a game or whatever it is that he's likely to do, if you're making all of them, it makes your score look good, even if the one that you fuck up is a pass directly to a forward against fucking Burnley that costs us a goal straight off. It's tricky. And again, I'm somewhere between I'm trying to drag myself away from being a Luddite. and he has been good. There's no two ways about it. He has been good. But if you listen to some people, some people are like, "Oh, he's the most underrated player in the Championship," and you're like, "But you don't know that. You don't watch enough football to say that." I don't know that, but I know you don't know either. So shut the fuck up.
I don't watch enough like Championship football. Do you know what the games are like at the minute? And it's totally going off topic, but like it's kind of we planned on doing that, I think. Like Scottish playoff games in the lower divisions, that's football.
Really?
No stats in that. Launching into each other. Just like trying to get out of whatever division they're in. I think it's been great. But like, I know what they mean about like I do rate Matt Grimes, I do, but he's like, it seems like he's a player that every team has. I mean, it was kind of Sergio Busquets, wasn't it? Back in the day, he was like the poster boy but he was actually really, really good at football.
Yeah.
He kept the ball, but he could also spread the play. His positional sense was great and all that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of people saw the likes of like Busquets and that Barcelona team because Pep's ruined football. We all know that.
Yeah.
And like, God, the Premier League is boring.
And it's as well. It's sort of not his fault. It's this idea that stupid people have got well, if we've got the ball, they can't score. And you're like, but it's really loads more complicated than that. Barcelona could play that way because they had like the 4 players in the world that were able to do it. You can't do it, so stop trying. Stop it. You don't have to. Just because you've read in a textbook that's the correct way for football I'm looking explicitly at you, Tony Mowbray. Just because you've read in a textbook that's the correct way to play, it's not. You could play however you want to win a game. It's fine. They're all valid.
Like some of the best football I've seen at Sunderland was Sam Allardyce for 6 months.
Yeah.
Possession based, he went, the little lad up front, actually Jermaine Defoe's dead good at scoring goals. So give him the ball more of the time and you'll probably find we'll get more of the goals. I mean, I understand it and I think Pep has reinvented football. I don't personally think it's for the better. Maybe that's because I'm an idiot and but I like winning games and goals and excitement. Like that game last night, talking of Barca Inter, brilliant that. Like all good technical players that were like exciting to watch and all that kind of stuff. But there is going back to sort of Matt Grimes, there is this kind of like want for having like whoever your Rodri may be, someone that you can just like, as I said before, play the transition to, someone who's really good in transition. Like, even the word in the football's changed, hasn't it? It's like, sitting back is now low block. Like, counter-attack is the transition. Like, I mean, it's the same shit.
Yeah. And I heard, if you hear I remember listening to recently people that had been in the Ireland team in 94 and them saying, I tell you who did the fucking high press? Us. That's not a fucking thing that people talking about gegenpressing now. It's not like it was invented 10 years ago. We were doing it then. That was how we played. Like we just didn't have a word for it that people think is fancy and throw around. Like these things are cyclical and that they're not, but anyway.
It's the Americanism, isn't it? It's the Americanism. Yeah.
But it's fine. People can do what they want, can't they? I have to say that as a disclaimer. I don't actually believe that, but it's better to pretend that you do.
Better say it.
Right, okay. I think I'm going to try and let's draw things to a close then. Predictions are pointless. So, I mean, that's it really, isn't it?
I mean, I honestly don't know. And like I'll kind of revert the point you said before. Like, in a way, I'm just like, oh, cool. This is an exciting game.
Yeah. I'm just excited for it. I'm going to go down. I live in the Northwest, so I'm going to finish early on Friday. I'm going to drive down and see my best mate. We'll have a few drinks before. Then it will be one thing that is for certain is that before the game the place will be fucking rocking, which I don't think everybody associates with Coventry if you've known Coventry for the last 10, 15 years. But in the last couple of years, we have kicked it up a notch considerably. And I do think it will go off on
you
Friday
were
night.
Getting put in like Northampton, to be fair, for a period of time.
Yeah, of course. And a lot of
off.
it's circumstantial. We've never been good. That's the thing. We've been to Wembley 4 times in the last 7 years. It'll be 5 and 8 when we beat yous. But before that, we haven't been to Wembley in 50 years. Sorry, no, we hadn't been to we hadn't been in the top 6 of any division in 50 years, and then it was only the 87 cup final was. So we've been shit for fucking so long, and it's just it rubbed off on us, obviously. But we've now been quite good now for sort of the Robbins era, which is the Lampard era, and now we're packing the stadium out, and we sold your allocation out in something like 3 hours earlier, and it'll be good. But more than anything, even if we fuck it up, even if we blow it, you just got to think this is better than it was when I had a season ticket at Sixfields, or this is better than it was when I had a season ticket at St Andrews. Or it's not.
I also think, I also think, and it pains me to say it because I want to tell you Sunderland are the best club in the world, and look, they always will be to me. Like, I don't care who beats us. Sunderland are still the best club in the world. That's just the way it is, and I'll never change my opinion on that. But if Coventry beat us, it's not a bad team in the context of where we are. If we beat yous, we're not a bad team.
Yeah, no, I like I say, I don't think this isn't like we finished third. I mean, like even Sheffield United and Bristol City. I think if you're Sheffield United, you'd be like, I'm going to be pretty fucked off if and probably when Bristol City win that game.
Bristol City's winning that, by the way.
That's what I think as well. But if we get knocked out by yous, I mean, there's obviously the sort of jokey, silly rivalry bit, and I love beating yous. But I kind of, if I look at it on, like I said before, I'd sort of go, I think they're probably, at the very least, can be a better team than we are. I don't think there's any shame in losing. I don't think it's like a massive opportunity missed. I think it's just, and I'll finish on this if that's okay, but my friend Neil posted something like a snippet of a press conference of that Giannis Antetokounmpo, the basketball player.
Antetokounmpo. I actually seen him play live in November, but anyway.
Yes.
I did, yeah, very good player.
The reporter said to him something along the lines of, you missed out on the playoffs this year, like, what sort of level of failure is that? And he was just like, I'd say, do you get promoted every year in your job? No, you don't. He was just like, we've got to stop fucking talking about these things as being like binary, success or failure. He was like, we've had a really good year this year, even though we haven't made the playoffs, and we've made the playoffs in like however many of whatever. He was like, everyone is trying to do the same thing. You don't get it every year. That's not how it works. Like you haven't got a God-given right. When someone wins, someone else loses. So when we won last year, someone else lost. It's just their turn. What was really funny about it is that I just totally didn't expect him to sound like a kebab house owner, like he does.
He's technically Greek, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, but he's got like he sounds properly Greek. So he's like
love him in Wisconsin, by the way. Totally off because I've seen that interview. It's really, really good, and it's a really good mindset. If you get beat, if we win, I'm going to be like, he's talking shite. But like, if we get beat, I will be playing that again. But it's a great interview, and but I went to great idea for a football club, right? Ryan Reynolds or whoever, the next Hollywood superstar, if you're listening, they have the basketball ground in Wisconsin, and they have a thing called the Deer District because I think the Deer is like the national whatever of Wisconsin or Milwaukee or whatever it may be. And around this stadium, they've just got loads of pubs, like breweries and that. And it's literally just pub after pub after pub. And I went, I think about 7 hours before tip off and just literally drank like 7-8 pints. And it was like the best game of basketball ever. It wasn't, but it was because I was hammered. And I honestly think they should implement that. It's probably at the Stadium of Light where they just have, like, knock some of the stadium down, like the 10,000 or whatever we don't use for like little games, and just build pubs.
I mean, it does make sense.
It does.
I suppose that 4 hour drive back to Glasgow might be ever slightly more problematic, but I suppose you could.
She's driving
as it comes. Right. Okay. Well, look, thanks ever so much for that. We may or may not get back after the first leg and sort of compare notes again, but this has been a nice bit of fun. Thank you.
If we win, I'll come back.
Okay, well, it was nice talking to you. This will be the last time we speak for a while.
Nice to meet you.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, mate.